Good evening. So today I will be presenting to you how I review the scientific community posters of my students. You may check the other video on how I reviewed their headline poster and explain there the different types of scientific posters required in our school. Technically, the only one which is required by the curriculum is the technical posters. However, due to the tradition and the research culture of our campus, we have this community poster and then the headline poster. The reason for having a headline poster, which is the third type of poster, can be known in the other video. But in this video presentation, I will be explaining the community poster. So, a community poster is made primarily for the general audience. And this can actually be used in order to explain the research project without having to delve into the technical details of the research project. Normally, we present the community scientific poster during the community-based science research presentation, and we usually present it to elementary learners. So as you can see, it is cartoonish in nature, and then there are only few words, and we actually make use of analogy or metaphor, and at the same time, in a language the general public can understand. The challenge actually in science is how to present the research project visually, which does not take as much time, unlike the research project, which is in a journal ready article, although in condensed form, and the detailed one, which is the manuscript. So, in other words, a community poster is one way of engaging the public and communicating the, the results of the project. I am doing this video in support of the open educational resources that eventually the future of learning is on OERs. So this is my contribution. And I would like to present to you the first draft of the scientific community posters after my learners were introduced to the different principles on how to develop a community poster. So please allow me to present a few of them, and then I would like you to look into the different principles on what I look into when I review the work of my students. Generally, my students are level-headed in such that they listen actually to the principle behind the review. And then you focus more on explaining why you do not agree to the design, and then you really have to let them recall the principle of poster presentation. So as usual, I would explain to them that presentations can either be oral or visual. So in the case of oral presentation, the the visual aid would be the PowerPoint presentation or the the slide deck. However, in the case of a visual presentation, this is with the use of a scientific poster. But posters can be of two subtypes. One is standalone, which means it is meant to be displayed. In other words, there are so many details provided that the presenter or the researchers don't really have to stand beside the posters. So it is intended to be viewed asynchronously, unlike in the case of the other type of poster where you only provide information in order to capture the attention of the audience. So we made some modification to that, and we have this so-called headline poster where you are being encouraged to look at the different pictures, and hopefully this picture might catch your attention and engage us um, with your questions. So that is why I hope that after learning the principles and theories behind poster presentation, we provide the necessary appreciation to our researchers, especially the young researchers, to spend time with them and discuss with them about what you thought about the project. So it would really be appreciated by them when we offer our support by simply asking questions or clarifications. So to start, I would like to present this output. So it is raining. It is pouring. So as you can see, my the cloud here is being referred to as habagat. But habagat, when we speak of habagat, it's a form of a weather pattern. But weather has five elements, and cloud and rain are just two elements. And habagat is identified as a wind pattern, not as a rain. So, as you can see, we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looking at the poster, you will notice that this is how they arrange it 1, 2. However, in the case of Filipinos, we read from left to right, top to bottom. But I don't know, probably due to the layout they have um, formulated, they don't want to follow that, but instead, they provided the number which comes first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. All right, there are so many things to be checked in a poster, and you'll get to know them as I look at the posters. Again, the one I've noticed is the clouds being referred to as habagat. So habagat is primarily wind. And then they mentioned here the effects of habagat. It is rainfall and then you have floods. And I don't know why suddenly they have to insert here the picture of crops. Probably there's a literature to support that, but without it, I don't think so that this is a major effect. And I don't know if the habagat would actually make the crops or the plant have an alternate color of their leaves. Probably this is due to fungus or nutrient deficiency, but I don't think that habagat, if that is wind or because of too much water, would result to disappearance of the crops. Take note that this is a scientific poster. So, when we depict something, it must also be scientific in nature. Now, I bring strong rainfall to surprise these Filipinos. And then we have ha ha ha. So, is this the typical evil laugh of a contrabida? I don't know. Why one has to laugh at someone's misfortune? Because we depict clouds as a contrabida or we depict habagat as a contrabida. So, there must be a demarcation on how we depict something which is natural and and present them to the public as evil. So, as a former earth science teacher, I don't actually get the idea why we label raining as a bad um, a bad day, or we consider it's a bad weather because it's raining. Anyway, and then you have here, you can't surprise us. as much as I would like to support women, but you will notice, or gender equality, or gender inclusivity, but you will notice that we have three persons here, and then they appear to be female all in all. So introducing probably these female um, figures here represent the researchers. However, this is not all about you. It's all about presenting the information. Therefore, as much as possible, we should be gender bias. I mean, no, what I mean is we have to be gender inclusive rather than gender uh, bias. So the three of you will investigate. There's so much information on the context and the background rather than on what you did and then the result. So it should be visual as much as possible. So this is all I can say about the community posters in this community poster. So the next one is entitled Tilapia Invaders. So it started with the tilapias are attacking the village. So are you telling me that the tilapia is an invasive species? And then what's funny about it is you depict here, is this a goldfish? Who need help? Who should we call? Oh, you call Ghostbuster. So, ayan. I don't know if this was checked by your advisor, but goldfish are also considered invasive, I think. But this has to be verified. Since there are so many invaders, you would like to uh, solve that by using lampunaya. And here, you have one, two, uh, you click, we sort of blend it, and you see that the text is so small that I may not be able to read it. I don't know with the kids. So if it is too small, then you might actually consider changing your layout so that you may be able to check the readability of the text in your poster presentation. So there seems to be a battle between Lapunaya and Tilapia, but it did not work. Well, I like the storyline, but I don't know why tilapias are depicted as attackers of the village. And I don't know why you have to subject tilapia because tilapia are invaders. I don't know. Or probably these are just test organism. So it must be clear. And then with that, we can actually we can actually make some modification on our storyline. So is this all about the concoction or is this all about the invaders? Sometimes we need to consider what exactly is the focus of your study. The focus of your study is on the pesticidal side rather than the test organism. So I would like you to reconsider this. Next, liblong tahong. Mm-hmm. Because you would like it to live, quote unquote, longer. Why are you doing this? What did you do? And what did you find out? There seems to be so many information here. So what exactly the reason why you're doing this? So you found out that it does not long. It does not live long. So probably it would be better if you have the information. Normally, how long does it last? It lasts only for 6 hours. And then after that, what happened? And then you provided so much information here on the details of your methods. But basically, this can be summed up in one thing. So what did you do? You have a treatment. Mm. Probably you can just apply something on it. But in terms of sample collection, the sample solution and preparation, and things like that, this can be removed. So it can be summed up. What did you do to the tahong? And that is by treating it with uh, and then with sodium lactate. So and then what was the lifespan or the shelf life shelf life of a tahong, which is a shell, it becomes redundant anyway. So with or without tahong, actually you can present it in such a way like this: tahong with or without, and then you already have your poster, and there would be less. This one, water the rice booster. The rice. Why water is one of the largest producer of rice? If it is the largest producer of rice, and Philippines is largest producer of rice, I think it would be better if you tell them how much rice is being produced rather than its ranking. Yes, and then what did we what we found out? I don't know because your design followed the leaves rather than how the participants can actually follow the the essence of the section. So at first, what did we and what we something like that. And there seems to be no demarcation line on what you did and what you found out. So it's important that we also have to consider this. So using the seeds in water and then the salt. So probably you can just look into presenting here the salt in different saline conditions. That's it. And what is the result? Here, Tamago no Jutsu. It is so textual that there are so many information here that are not necessary. Like for example, you provided here a Japanese element, and then I mentioned in your headline poster that we cannot depict here. Uh, I mean, incomplete hands, and then you lose the focus on that the tamago or the egg. Well, you found out that it becomes taller and healthier, but your audience are lower years, and you won't be presenting this in Japan. You will be presenting it only here. So, how about exciting or excellent, exciting, egg, exemplary height and health of plants? So it's like a growth medium. This one is so heavy because there is no white space. White space should be 25%. So this is finding erosion, and then you depict it in uh, a ghostly. And then the the participant will actually check after reading this, which comes next. Is this the one or this one? So there must be some sort of an arrow or a number to guide the reader which comes first, which is second or third, and so on. And then, well, this is a story, but if you provide here information with so many text and information, it becomes crowded in appearance. How about this molecular war docking? Search for the strongest weapon. Well, mhm, I think in order to provide white space, this can be reduced into few lines and place it here instead. I don't know. And then your character, this one is male, female, and let the real attacks begin. Why should there be a concept of violence in a poster intended for children? Mm. There, you need to reduce the text or probably modification of the storyline. And then I don't know if what is the generic name of Pseudomonas, but you can explain it like microorganism or just bacteria. And I think this can be more relatable. And then you can provide here a legend below that that bacteria is in a form of Pseudomonas. All right, that's it. So one, two, three, four. I think you need to be consistent when it comes to placement of frame number. The text is so small, and then at first I thought that this is a worm. Later on, I realized that this is a mosquito larvae. I love the title because larvae. I think this is very creative. I think you can remove the preparation part, extraction and testing. Well, if you need actually this information, so you can just remove preparation. They can ask you what did you prepare. We are not supposed to divulge it. Extraction and then testing to riches. I don't know why riches. And what is the result? Yeah, it's creative, but then it lacks the elements on, like for example, there must be a storyline. So there must be a background, and then there must be a plot twist by knowing what is the problem of the context or of the topic of choice, and then what you did, and then what's the result, something like that. But if you can present it in a manner which would capture the audience and give them the take-home image. Overall, I like it because it captures the attention, especially the young learners. But then, what is the take-home message? That jackfruit rugs and rind to riches. So you became rich because of this? I don't know. So you have here the snail searching. Actually, the snails are already there. They are already here. Organisms are here, but we don't have a name for them, or we cannot actually tell if it is a different variation or snail naming. So probably you can start here of nails asking, so what's your name? I think I love this poster because of the white space. It's clean to look at, and probably we can have the header change as well so that we can remove it, that we can have the white background. Yeah, I can understand the effort in preparing this community poster. However, looking at it, mm, you will notice we read from left to right. Therefore, this is the sequence. And it is later on I realized that you have here guides what should be the next frame. So it's like this. I think it should be more pronounced for the kids to really figure it out. Sometimes it would be better if we use numbers, but then in your case, you preferred arrows instead. But then the arrow can actually be used to. So this is your white space. Probably this is intended for the header. And I think it would be better if we just present here what was the area cover and the latest cover, or you can show the progression, and that would actually present the background as well as the current result, because you use QGIS anyway or satellite imagery. And then you can have this. This is so textual that participants may not like to read at all. So this, it explained too much. So probably you can find means by which you can reduce the number of text. You still have to remove the text. This is in a community poster. If you have this, children won't be able to read them. So as much as possible, your community poster should communicate what you did and what happened after what you did. But it must be situated in a background the students can understand. And then you provided too much detail on your methods, which you can actually make use your technical poster to explain what you did in details. But I don't think kids would be interested to know all the details about the preparation of the algae, that you have made different setups. All right. In this case, it's all about a male person and it depicts violence. So you only have male, and then there seems to be a fight because you used a battle of yield, and then it does not highlight your result because poster is about knowing what is the result after what you did. Now, in this case, I love the poster except that the title is about kitchen experiment. That experiment was done in the kitchen. So it gives the kids the idea that it's all right to perform an experiment in the kitchen. How about new recipe, something like that, or new menu, new menu. Then you use here a scientific name, which, as mentioned, the community poster is for the general audience. Therefore, it would be better if you use common name of the general audience. So if these are all Filipinos, then we can just use Aratiles. If these are all from Western Visayas or in Iloilo in particular, then we can just use Sirisa. Now, in this case, I believe this is inspired by a computer game where one has to kill someone and then they have to start killing each other until only few left in the game. So this is based on killing, deceit, and contrary to the school core values of truth. And then, not everyone is into computer games. So it may encourage those who are fan of the computer game, but it might actually um, discourage those who are not into computer games. And then it's so dark for me because you use the background. I mean, when you have young audience, it's all right to have cartoons. However, it would be better if we use colors that are enticing in the eyes of the kids rather than black. Although the characters are colorful, but they seem to be fighting with each other. So again, in the making of the scientific community posters, we really have to consider if the language and the images that we are using are age appropriate. There must be less than 100 words, or the fewer the words being used to explain something would be better. And then, if it involves killing or fighting, so you depict violence in your poster, and that is not good for the general audience. We really have to consider the the young learners in mind. And then we also have to pay attention to our biases when it comes to gender and culture, where one has to check if you represented all gender types as possible. Then, the language of peace, or is it a language of hatred and division? So there is what we call child protection policy. We really have to consider the provisions in the child protection policy when we prepare instructional material or visual materials like this one. And then the depiction of blood and cut body parts, both of human beings and animals, must also be considered, or probably depiction of deformation. You need to provide an alternative, or if it is not possible, then probably you can provide trigger warnings so that the young audience or the parents can decide for their child if they will continue or not because of the possible risk. But of course, please avoid that so that you don't have to go through the process of asking for permission before you proceed. Now, there are some images, like for example, holes or a series of black objects as if they appear to be holes. So it might also trigger some phobia. You better have to check what are the major triggers for young children being presented in a poster. Then again, I mentioned about the body parts. I think I've noticed that there are parts like hands and things. Then the use of scientific versus common name. If this is intended for international audience, then we'll have the scientific name. But if it is intended for a certain school, you better have to check the common name to be used. But in a manuscript and in a journal article, since it is intended for an international audience, scientific name must be used. And this is science research. Scientific name must be used. But you will be presenting three types of posters simultaneously, then the technical poster should have the scientific name. Or if the space allows, then provide scientific name and the common name. And whenever possible, your community poster must contain only 100 words or less. In fact, even in technical poster, the less word, the less number of words, the better. When you have fewer words and the participants would look at your poster, they would actually think that they are capable of finishing reading everything. But as soon as they see that there are so many words to read, then they shy away from your presentation. So just tell them what is exciting or trivial, trivial in a scientific and truthful presentation. Then you provide white space. White space are yellow orange where the eyes can relax because of that space. White space doesn't mean to be really white, but these are areas to make the appearance less crowded. And then, of course, we also have to consider coherence. A while ago, I presented to you a poster about an experiment, but it has whiteboard. I don't know whose kitchen has a whiteboard. And then, you have to consider what exactly is the focus of your research. Of your poster. The focus must be the result. And the topic of investigation rather than the the rational. So with that, I would like to end and hopefully you'll consider all these elements in in improving your scientific community poster. Thank you very much and bye everyone.